Hey, KenJon, why do you park on a driveway and drive on a parkway?
I'm done.
Don't ask me. I'm still in the garage.
Hold up. It's the Chargers Squad. Everything Los Angeles Chargers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Chargers Squad Show, starting now.
What is up? The Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. We come 2 times a week in the offseason. Pete Fox covered sports in LA dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. KenJon Barner, 10 years in the league, 3 rings. And Jim Daniels, where he and I worked together, NBC Sports Radio, covering sports in LA for a long, long time as well, 2001. Well, welcome back. We have still no offensive coordinator. Probably going to need a defensive coordinator as well. The fact is, maybe we're feeling good about where the OC search is going. Maybe we're not. Jim is hearing that the leading candidate right now is Brian Daboll. KenJon does not like that.
I don't at all. Listen, I'm all for being proven wrong. I just don't see that going in that direction again. I watched the New York Giants a lot while my guy was at the was at the controls as the head man. And there's just a lot that I didn't like about the New York Giants. It wasn't just their offensive football, but it was the way we kind of talked about this last week. Listen, I need somebody with emotional maturity, right? I need somebody who doesn't act like a child on the sideline when things aren't going his way. Like, we're all grown men out here, so let's act like it. That just doesn't sit well in my spirit. And if I'm a Chargers player, I don't want a coach who responds and sulks and pouts and throws temper tantrums on the sideline. Listen, most of these guys are going home to deal with kids. I don't want to deal with kids while I'm at work. I'm not for it.
Jim, here's what Harbaugh had to say, Jim. Right? This was from media yesterday, or probably not yesterday. Maybe it was last week. I don't know. They said, quote, this week. This is what Harbaugh said. The person that teaches, installs, puts the players in the best position to be successful, ultimately scores points is number one. He needs a guy that's going to help them score points. Thanks.
That's good. It's good.
Installs, teaches. Okay.
Good.
Those are all good comments. So here's a list from Chargers.com of the guys they have interviewed already.
Uh-oh.
And strictly from a look at the dude's picture, I want this guy, Drew Terrell. This guy looks like he means business, right? This guy does not take S from anybody, and he is innovative and he's positive. And I walk away from that guy just from his picture. I don't know anything about Drew Terrell. Just from his picture.
But dude got a strong jawline. He got a strong jawline.
I walk away talking to that guy like I want to run through a wall. Okay, he's spent 3 years in Arizona. He's 34. Spent time in Washington. And he has an early tie to Harbaugh. He's one of Terrell's earlier coaching opportunities when he was starting out was with none other than Jim Harbaugh as a graduate assistant at Virginia Tech. Okay, that's a long time ago. Oh, he spent 3 years in the same role at Michigan with Harbaugh, 15, 16, 17. So do you know anything about that guy, KB?
I'm like, the name sounds familiar. I played against him while he was at Stanford.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So I mean, that's about as far as I know of him. I don't know anything about him as a coach, but I know he was a hell of a player at Stanford.
He's the passing game coordinator. I'm still on the fence about just that position being elevated to OC. I think it seems like it's a bit of a jump. I'd rather have another guy that's been an OC. So if you had to make the choice, Jim, is it offensive coordinator passing coordinator elevation or quarterbacks coach elevation? Which one seems like a longer jump to you?
Quarterback. Well, no, passing, because quarterback would encompass everything that he does. And so passing seems a little bit limited. in that regard. I clicked over to your page, what you're talking about, to see this guy, and he looks more like a player than he does a coach. So he's probably now. There's the Brian Daboll thing scares me, and I'm going to do something I do frequently with KB. Ditto what that guy said, because we've talked about this guy before. He's emotionally immature. He's not head coach material at all. He acts and sulks like a baby in press conferences and throws a fit on the sideline. And you don't need that stuff when you got little people 3 feet tall at home to do that stuff. You don't need a grown man to do that stuff when you're at work. So let's move on to somebody that's got a proven track record. I mean, I'm jumping ahead in the homework here, but Arthur Smith is the guy on this list here of people that I like.
As I'm looking at Drew, more and more starting to come. We were actually in Carolina together in 2018, where he was in a staff position. He wasn't there as a player. I was there as a player, but he was there as the Panthers offensive quality control. And so things are starting to come back. I like Drew. Everything's starting to. I just need my memory jogged a little bit. No, I do like Drew. I like Drew a lot. I think Drew is a dude that understands the game. Conversations that we did have, Drew is a guy that can recognize putting guys in the right spots. There were certain conversations that we had that things weren't happening within the offense, but if they would have, I think things would have went the right way. So I'm not against this at all. And then you asked the question whether quarterback coach or passing game coordinator. I think you are limited, right? When you're specifically put in a box of just coordinate the passing game. You have run game coordinators, pass game coordinators. And so you are limited, but I would like to think that these guys in these positions aren't just focused on that specific task. I would like to think that they're taking time to learn other areas and aspects of the game to prepare themselves. Because I think if you're in that position, ultimately you want to get to that OC spot, whether it's on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball. I just think that you will be preparing yourself for this. So would it be more of a jump? Probably. But I would like to think that these guys are preparing themselves for those moments when it does come around.
Yeah, I look at it and I go, okay, you could split this atom a couple different ways. Easily.
Oh, Drew.
Yeah, I like Drew, man. Based on what I've just read, I feel like he's a long shot, but I like the potential there a lot. But you look at Shane Day, who is the Chargers' current
quarterback coach.
He's the quarterback coach. And then the other guy that they've interviewed is Marcus Brady, who is also on the staff. And I look at that and I say, okay, he's the passing game coordinator right now. So is that elevation too much? Look, he's already there. Are we going to get more of the same? Or is he a guy that's been kind of both of these guys, Shane Day and Marcus Brady? Are they guys that have been sitting there kind of going, man, if I had control of this, it would be so different. So, being close to it is a good thing, or is being too close to it a bad thing that, hey, we already know what we're going to get from these guys because we've seen it? Or is it like because they're not in the driver's seat that it's just very different? How does that work, KB? We lost KB. How does that work in your opinion, Jim?
Yeah, I think what the thing is that, you're going to have guys, on the team that are going to be in support of this. But I think you need to think for them. I mean, I don't think this is about you're making sure that your friends keep their jobs. I think it's about bringing in some innovation, bringing in fresh blood, bringing in some new ideas. That's why I like, somebody that's actually had the job before. I mean, I know that if you look around the league, they're hiring young guys all over the place. You know what? I think that's just a reaction. I think that's what they do. I think, the Sean McVay, we call it the Sean McVay factor, is that this guy came in, one of the youngest guys to ever be a head coach of a football team, and has had marvelous success. Well, okay, but you know what? You need to understand that guy's an exception to the rule. He is really, really good at this. I mean, he's able to run the whole thing and call the plays. Those guys don't grow on trees, but you know what? Right. The trend, if you will, is to put younger guys with, a younger school of thoughts into those positions. And that's not always the right thing to do. Just because you're still in your 30s doesn't mean you're qualified for the job. I want somebody that's an exotic play designer. I want somebody that sits up late at night thinking of ways to get Justin Herbert for him to get the ball to the people that he needs to. And, I don't know if I want to let somebody learn how to do the job on that watch. I've got Harbaugh. That's, this is a solid head coach to cover all the bases. I want somebody somebody, we talked about McDaniel last week about, that would be the dream of all the people that you could pick. That would be the one that you want, the guy that just draws up these crazy, offensive schemes. But, I would prefer somebody that's had the job before and is coming in with fresh ideas. Say, look, I know exactly what I want to do with this quarterback.
KB, is that like the question I posed when you dropped out for a second was having two guys that have been already there? Do we kind of know what we're going to get from them already? Or is it because they haven't been the OC? Look, when you become the guy in charge and you're calling the plays and it's your ship, it's a totally different thing. And the fact that they've been there is beneficial to them and not a negative. How would you look at that?
I think both things can be true, right? You may get some things that are very similar to what Greg Roman did, right? It's a Greg Roman offense. And so you're probably going to get much of the same, but you get a different twist to it, right? You get a different set of eyes, you get a different approach, you get a different, you get different desires and likes. You may get somebody who sees something different in different players. And so there is a benefit, right, of having somebody that's familiar with the system. There is a benefit of guys not having to learn an entirely new system. But there's also a benefit to sometimes having new blood in the room, right? There's that benefit of like, okay, it's a breath of fresh air, new offense, new ideas, new strategies, new conversation. Just a new voice sometimes is very good for a football locker room. But like going back to the other side of it, that familiarity aspect of it, of I know this guy, he knows me, he knows the weaknesses, he knows the weaknesses and the strengths of the team, so that there's a benefit to both sides of it. So I don't think you can go wrong if you choose the right guy.
Yeah, and I think on the other side of things, which we're going to talk about after the break, is when you have a defense like they do under a guy like Jesse Minter, who's probably going to be gone.
Come home, Jesse.
Bringing a guy from the outside in is probably not what you want. You probably want an inside guy who's familiar with what's happening and just can kind of keep the ship floating down the river. So that's what we'll talk about a little bit. Go ahead.
If you're going to bring a new guy in, I would like to think that you would go back and study what made this team successful. I would think that you would go back and study what type of defenses and offensive and different schemes that these guys benefited from. Like, you want to go study your key players. You want to go study Duran. You want to go study Khalil. You want to go study Toole. You want to go study these guys and look at what they did in their current system and implement that into yours. Like, I think oftentimes, maybe this is a conversation we could have had after the break, but coaches get so one-track minded in what they do. No, this is my system. We're going to do it my way. But when you're going to a place or when you're drafting a player, you're drafting those players and you're working with those players off of what you've seen them do prior to you getting them. So why wouldn't you want to implement the things that they have done well from that current system and just add to yours? I think there's value in adding to your tool belt. Oftentimes, coaches get so stuck on my way or the highway that I think we lose out on seeing players really flourish the way that they can.
Well, there's a introductory discussion about who could be the next DC, and we'll talk more about that. And we'll spend a little bit more time with some more of these OC guys because there's a lot of them. They have interviewed Mike Williams. There's more names on this list that we have not touched on, but it's not a done deal yet. There's still a lot of things that are left up for decisions, and we'll talk about it right after the break. It is the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, where you find Daniel and David Monday through Friday with the Locked On Daily Chargers podcast. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Indeed. If you've ever hired someone who looked good on paper, this is interesting. I didn't set this up this way. Like, whereas the Chargers are trying to, maybe they just go to Indeed and find somebody. Somebody who looks good on paper but wasn't the right fit. You know how important that is. That could be the Greg Roman story right there. What you want, candidates who truly match what you're looking for. Trust Indeed's sponsored jobs. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs. Put your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. So spend more time interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. Because if you don't have the right people, you are screwed. Let's be honest. Using Indeed sponsored jobs helps out dramatically. Listeners of this show and get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you give your job the premium placement it deserves at Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL. Just go to Indeed.com/LockedOnNFL right now and support the show by saying you heard about Indeed on the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode also brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets change the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Features are cleared swaps. Trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. All right, so Jesse Minter is interviewing, I think probably today, maybe already interviewed. Cleveland is kind of atop the list. They're very, very interested in him. So the question then becomes for the Chargers, who will be the next DC? I've heard a couple of times that it's in-house guys atop the list, and I like that based on kind of what we just talked about. But the current DB's coach, Steve Klimscale, is an internal favorite. Ejiro Evero, the Panthers DC, and Anthony Weaver, the Ravens assistant, are other names on that list. But when you get right down to it, I think this is probably as important as the OC job is for this team's success. I feel like the defensive job is more important because as we look at the teams that are still available or still playing, rather, they're all very defensive-minded teams. The one exception being the Pats beat the crap out of the Houston Texans, and the Texans had a much better defense. And Pats fans love the fact that everyone was picking Houston because of that defense. And, a lot of people, I have a friend on Facebook who is a Pats fan, a guy I used to work with at ESPN. He's like, I love how the schedule caused 4 turnovers against the Texans, because we talked about it too. Their schedule wasn't good. And I said, listen, dude, they can be mutually exclusive. They can have a bad schedule, which they did, and still beat the crap out of the Texans, which they did. So get ready for the fact that the Broncos are coming in without Bo Nix, which means the Patriots will probably win that game. And everyone's going to say, KenJon doesn't like that prediction. If that happens, everyone's going to say, well, if they had Bo Nix, you guys wouldn't have won, blah, blah, blah. But that's another conversation. What you still like the Broncos, KB?
I do. The Broncos have the best defense in the playoff. And I don't think we've talked about this, right? It's hard to prepare for somebody that you don't really have film on. And with, I don't know, I hope Stidham, I hope I'm saying that right.
Jared Stidham.
Yeah, Jared. You don't have a lot of film on him, and he's capable, right? Mm-hmm. He is a quarterback that can play the game. Going back to his Raider days, it's not like this dude is a slouch. Bo Nix has the it factor, right? But Stidham can get the job done. So, and the game is in Denver, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm not moving off Denver just yet. And again, if we're going into a long conversation about something we're not supposed to be talking to, but either way, if Drake May comes out and performs like he did last week, New England will absolutely lose that game. 1,000% will lose that game.
Well, you could talk about it from your days in Philly when you won your first ring. I mean, Nick Foles, and granted, he didn't start in the AFC Championship game or NFC Championship game, but he came in midway through the season, right, and took over. So it's possible. Like it's
1,000% possible. So. No, it's not. It's not crazy at all. And I heard the Fox guys, Howie and the crew, they were all talking about and brought up Nick Foles. But the difference between Foles and Stidham. Foles came in with 3 games left during the regular season, so he had enough time to find his rhythm, right? And it didn't start off pretty. It started off looking like, woo-wee, are we going to make this run? And then he found his rhythm, and the run turned in what it turned into. But with Stidham having to come in the conference championship game, that's a tall task, no doubt about it. But when you have Sean Payton and you have the number one defense in the NFL, you got a great shot. So again, I'm not moving past him. It's been done. It can be done again. It's just a matter of what his mental is like and whether or not he's ready for the moment. And I would like to think up under Sean Payton is not going to have a terrible backup. His backup could probably be a starter somewhere. That's just who Sean Payton is. So I'm expecting a surprise. People may not think that, may not like that, but hey, I'm riding with it. I'm rolling the dice on it.
He doesn't need to throw for 300 yards. He doesn't need to come in and be Superman with that defense at home. They're going to try and keep this thing under 40 points and, just get some points. And just operate the offense, get close enough to kick field goals, try and run the ball, play keep away from those guys. I agree with what you said about the way that May played last week. He didn't play super against the Chargers either. I mean, these guys are young and they can be had. I don't think this is a slam dunk for the Patriots at all.
And KB, here's where this links to the Chargers and links to every other team not playing right now. We do this every postseason in every sport. We look and see what is winning, what's working. And we look at our team and go, we don't have that. We need more of that. So that's what I look at. And I say, okay, what do all of these teams that are left have that the Chargers don't have? Right. So there's a lot of different things. It's not just one thing, but the fact is that I think the top of the list, most people would say, you said it 100 times, defense wins championships. And people like to bounce off of that and say, well, so does offense. But ultimately, I think that you look at all these teams and their defenses are better than the Chargers. Not much better because the Chargers defense is very good.
Very good.
So they need to keep that where it is. And that's why I'm saying Clinkscale to me, just because he's there, is like, okay, perfect. Like, as long as he's not a anti-Jesse Minter schemer, like he's like, Jesse's an idiot and I don't know, he doesn't know what he's doing. Wait till I get in control. If he can kind of keep things going the way they're going, that would be great for the Chargers, right? That's the thing. But as far as you look at the offense needs to be overhauled.
We need a revamp.
Yeah. And Jim, that's where I think having a guy like come in from the outside with a new opinion, a new voice, a new Jim, we were talking about this before the show. In our world, the radio world, when you work at a radio station, as far as the daily shows that are on every day, all the time, a lot of times there's a guy that's doing weekends and, somebody gets fired and this guy's like, I was this guy at one point. I'm sure you were as well. You're like, hey, I can do that job. Let me do the morning job. Let me do the drive time job, whatever. And a lot of times they do, right? Because you paid your dues. But a lot of times it's better to just bring somebody in from the outside with a new voice, right? A new attitude, a new way of doing things. And if I had to choose between those two, I would it's tight because both of them can work. But I think having a new voice come in for this Charger offense would be exactly what they need.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the right track here, especially the promotion from within on the defensive side of the ball. That's not broken. We need to make sure that we, re-sign people and do the things we need to do personnel wise. If you're thinking, Charger defense here, that's what I think that's what you want. And I think that's a fair and reasonable place to look to bring somebody up. That's like, hey, we want to just keep this thing going. We're not looking for you to come in here and reinvent the wheel. We've got our guys. We've got things in place. We know what we want to do, and we want to give this thing to you. And I think that, you can trust somebody like that. But on the offensive side, it's so broken, it's so wrong that you've got to have another breath of fresh air, someone else that has complete other ideas, or maybe not complete other ideas because we're just running and throwing the football. But, different ideas about how to make Justin Herbert successful. And that's the key, because like Harbaugh has said a couple of times, my job is to get this guy to the Hall of Fame. The only way that happens is if he starts winning playoff games. And, we've already seen, how tough the guy is, how competitive he is. This is the guy. I mean, a lot of people were saying as soon as the season ended, this is who Herbert is. Not necessarily so, man. I mean, people don't necessarily step right out of the college ranks and start winning championships. I know it happens, but that's not the norm. And I think it's clear, and I think the Chargers understand that it's got to be somebody, I believe it's got to be somebody from outside that's going to bring in some new ideas.
Yeah, when they talk about Mike McDaniel, he's an innovative guy. I still look at that and I say, What's the motivation for McDaniel? Like, is this, KB, does this become a situation where he's just like, give me the keys to that car because Herbert is such a good quarterback? I mean, is that what would fire up an OC that is talking about this job? It's like just the opportunity to work with that guy.
Yeah, that, and listen, when you're taking on any time you're taking on a key position on a football team, whether it's head coach, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, you want to sit back and evaluate the talent level that you're going to be coaching, right? And so, for going to Mike Minter for a second, I don't know if I'm going to Cleveland. I like the defense, but offensively, what do I have to work with? What chance do I really have? So if I am Mike and I'm looking at this Charger team, I'm very excited about what I have in that locker room, not only at quarterback, but you have a young running back in Omarion Hampton, who's an absolute stud. Then you get to the receivers, you get Trey, you get Quentin Johnston, you get Ladd. If you bring Keenan back, you got Keenan, you got an up and coming tight end in Gaston. Like you have everything that you need in-house to have one of the, if not the most explosive offenses in the NFL. So this is absolutely, as an offensive coordinator, it starts with your quarterback, because I can have the greatest system known to mankind, but if I don't have a quarterback, it's not worth a damn. So once I evaluate my quarterback and I know I have something there, then you start to look at the pieces up under that. And the Chargers have everything they need for this offense to be, like I said, one of the top, if not the top offenses in the league. So this is absolutely something that would get a coordinator excited. And for Mike, you've been a head man. So is that what you want to step back into, or are you willing to take a step back, go into a coordinator position, and then go on from there again? So it's all about, really at this point in time, it's about what he wants to do, because he has all the options in the world, I'm sure.
Does LA play a factor? LA seems to always play a factor for guys, and granted, he's coming from Miami, so it's not like
that's that point Nebraska. Right there. So if we're talking
Miami anymore,
if we're talking money wise, tax purposes, no, LA, absolutely not. California in general, no, throw the whole state away. Yeah. But if you're talking about what comes with being here, right? The marketing aspect of it, whatever, family, the scenery, all of that, absolutely. Weather. Yeah, weather, that absolutely, especially coming from Miami. That's the second state in the country with the best weather, right behind California. So if that's what you're looking for and that's playing a part in it, absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to be in a place where the sun shines majority of the year? You get great weather. Absolutely, it plays a part, I believe. I don't want.
And Jim, when you look at what Mike McDaniel did for Tua, I was not a believer in Tua, and he made the most there, didn't he? I mean, he took that and then polished that rock for sure.
That's an understatement. He had to do that job handcuffed because of that quarterback. And I mean, part of that was, physical stuff that we'll say is out of air without game. And you've got to be, like we talk about, people need to be smart with the football. You need to be smart with your head too. I mean, if that's a problem, then you shouldn't be rushing and you shouldn't be trying to pick up first down. It's not that important. Not so important that you might get knocked out of the game and not play for 2 weeks. Tua, I'm not a fan of that guy either, but I think that it plays to McDaniel's strength that he's able to be as successful as he was under those circumstances.
Here's more from the list of guys that are available or that have been interviewed, rather. Another name that came up,
bring him, my guy.
Jim likes Brian Callahan a lot, KB, because of where he's been and who he's coached. He was, of course, the Titans head coach this season, got fired. He's young. But the thing that you would look at in his resume and circle is that he coached in OC and coached in Cincy as the OC. So being with Bengals quarterback
Joe Burrow.
That's a feather in his cap, and put together a very, very effective, productive, top-ranked offense. What do you think about Callahan?
I'm not against it. Listen, track record speaks volumes to me, and I wouldn't say that outside offensive line and maybe one receiver there Two, Higgins was really good as well. Higgins was damn good. When you look at that offense and the way that it's structured, this Charger offense can resemble that. Obviously, you don't have who their number one is. We don't have him. We don't have a Higgins, but we have again. It all goes back to the pieces to the puzzle that you have in place. And when you have a guy like Callahan who can create an explosive offense, who can he showed you what he can do with a quarterback that is capable, more than capable, because Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the top 10, maybe top 5 quarterbacks in the league. I believe that what Callahan can do with Herbert can resemble what he was able to do with Burrow. And I think we would see a different version of Justin Herbert.
Rick in H-Town wants Callahan to bring his dad to coach the O-line. I like that idea.
Package deal, baby. Yeah. Package deal.
There you go. That would be fun.
Take it.
Bills are going to need a coach too. I was kind of surprised by that. Here's a comment about that. Minter will get the Ravens or Bills job, but in my opinion, Mike Elston should be the new DC. Our D-line was really well coached, making randoms look good. It's a very good point there, Tap King. It is. I don't know if it's a scary place to be or an exciting place to be to have both coordinators. And by the way, no, Minter's not gone yet. A lot of people are asking that question, but he's interviewing around all over the place. He's going to get a job. So we've been waiting for this for a while. Not surprised. Yeah. So, they're going to need both an OC and a DC. But the fact is that that's, look, from a excitement standpoint, change sometimes is good, and it can only get better. Like they have not performed well in the postseason. So making some changes can't really hurt things all that dramatically. There is always a chance. There's always the possibility that your team can turn things around and make a run. Just look at the Indiana Hoosiers. We're going to talk about that after the break, because in 2 years, that team has made a complete reversal 180 and won the national championship. Surprise, surprise. I mean, it's a great story, and we're going to get into it after the break. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Monday through Friday, you got Daniel and David, and then 2 days a week, you got me, KenJon, Jim, doing the Squad Show. We're going to go all off season long, so make sure you join us. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Drip Drop. Where is that little thing? There it is. Kicking off the year feeling good is the goal, right? And honestly, hydration is the easiest win. When I stay on top of it, my energy, focus, and mood all level up. But let's be real, plain water just doesn't always cut it. Still pretty good, though. Especially when you're grinding through long days. That is true. Hitting the gym or you're working out in the sun, having hydration is crucial. And that's where Drip Drop comes in. Doctor-developed, proven fast hydration that helps your body and mind work better. Think clearer, focus, better energy, elevation of your mood, and it all happens fast, and it'll help your skin glow too. Not all of us can, shine like KenJon Barner with that perfect skin. Drip Drop's science-backed formula is trusted by firefighters, medical professionals, and over 90% of top college and pro teams because it rehydrates you faster and more effectively than water. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 20% off. Stock up now at dripdrop.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONNFL. So, national championship in college football yesterday, a fantastic game, a battle back and forth, Miami and the Indiana Hoosiers, and the Hoosiers come out on top, finishing off a perfect season. And all I could think about when watching that was the Hoosiers won the national championship. What? Really? Right. I mean, I believe it, but I kind of can't believe it because you've heard from a lot of long suffering Hoosier fans like, John Cougar Mellencamp, that's been going to games. He said he went to a game. He's been going to games since he was a kid. His dad used to buy tickets for 99 cents. So, you look at that and you say, Hoosier fans have probably thought forever that they're never going to win a national championship. It's always next year for them. Right. And I was like, that just shows you that really, if you find the right chemistry of coach, quarterback, players, coaching staff, everything, you put it together, anything is possible, right?
Yeah.
And then, flipping it over to the NFL, the Bills, another early exit when everything was kind of set up for them. They had it right within their grasp and they let it slip. And Bills fans are once again going, we'll get them next year. We'll get them next year. I mean, this was their year kind of without Mahomes, who's dispatched him and them 4 different times. This was their year. It didn't happen. But you look at the Hoosiers, it did happen. They figured out a way. Curt Cignetti put together the whole puzzle. And he got a national championship for the Indiana Hoosiers, something that nobody ever thought they'd say. So you look at the Chargers and you say, it can happen. It can happen. By the way, there's rumors out there that Cignetti, I heard this on the Today Show this morning, Cignetti could be going to the Raiders with his quarterback Mendoza. And I'm only Cignetti interested in the NFL. And the headline is, Cignetti has said, I am not going to the NFL. It is not what I want to do. It's not where I belong. So he will be, this is good for Hoosier fans. He'll be there again next year. By the way, 2 years ago, they were 1-8.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 2 years, they just have turned it on and won the national championship. So KenJon, it's possible, right? I mean, you can put together all of the right pieces and things can turn around and it gives, fans of teams like the Chargers hope.
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. And listen, that's what sports is about. Having the right people. I think that's everything in life. That's every working, any type of environment that takes more than one person to thrive. It's about the saying, show me your circle and I'll show you your future. If you can have the right head man, because that's where it starts, but the right assistants, the right support staff, the right players with the right attitude, the right mindset, and everybody moving on one accord towards one common goal, anything is possible. And it doesn't matter. Again, you go back to that Indiana team. This is a team that is not full of 5-star players, right? It's not full of the names that you can't, outside of maybe Pons and Mendoza and Surratt, Cooper, there's not a lot of people outside of them that you can name on this team. But when you bring it back to this NFL side, who can I bring into this locker room that is going to cultivate the culture that I'm trying to build here, right? Because it's all about culture. It's all about players. And if I can bring the right people, the sky is the limit. And so I think we have the right head man in Harbaugh, point blank, period. That's signed, sealed, and delivered. But now when you have guys leaving, you need an OC, you need a DC and everything up under that. Who can I trust that when I'm not in the room, the voice sounds the same? When I'm not in the room, the message is the same. When I'm not in the room, I don't have someone creating a cancer, something small and starting off as a small tumor. Who can I trust to continue to drive this car the way I want it to head? And so it's all about having the right people. And going back to Indiana for 1 second, if watching Indiana win the national championship did not put you in that scene in Step Brothers where they're talking about it's the Catalina wine mixer. That's exactly when I watched Indiana win, it's the effing Catalina wine mixer. If it didn't put you in that mind frame, we can't be friends.
You said something a couple of weeks ago about comfortability. And every time I hear that word, I think of that scene in Step Brothers where he's like, it's more than comfortability. I freaking love you. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I've been watching, my daughter is freshman right now. She's 14. We've been watching that movie for like 5 or 6 years, and there's some inappropriate stuff. And I'm like, turn your head. Okay, you can watch again. But look, we love
Step Brothers almost got me kicked out of college. Okay, I mastered in Step Brothers and recreational basketball my freshman year.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep.
You know what the reason I got this comes back. This can kind of tie this into what we're talking about relating to your players as a coach. When I first started coaching high school baseball, I couldn't relate to the kids I had never coached before. I was coaching the freshman team, so I'm dealing with freshmen, and I didn't know what to say to them. And they were doing all these quotes from this movie like nonstop, right? And I asked them what it was, and I went and watched the movie. So I would just come to practice every day, and we would just do lines from Step Brothers like back and forth. I will stab you in the neck with a knife. We would just, that's how I related to them. And I think that to a certain extent, that's what the Chargers needed as an OC, is a guy that can relate to Harbaugh, can relate to Herbert. And I know that's two different things, Jim. Who's more important that this OC relates to? Is it Harbaugh or is it Herbert?
First of all, I'm not a raper. Okay.
Oh, not a raper. You had a look in your eye.
We could do this the rest of the day, man.
The whole day. We just do stepbrother lines for the rest of the show.
The rest of the show.
I'm gonna stay with I'm gonna stand on the same hill here. I want to promote from within on defense. Defense isn't that far off. Let's re-sign the people that you need to re-sign and move ahead with somebody that on the staff that gets it, that is already following Harbaugh. Like KB said, that when he's not in the room, his voice still echoes and what he wants. No, the key here is absolutely the right offensive coordinator. I don't know if it's a guy that's got all the way experience, all the way to head coach, whether it's Arthur Smith or whether it's Callahan. And Callahan has the same thing too. But the thing that I like about Callahan is that he's been with a dynamic quarterback and had success. And I like that. That's something I can see that's black and white, that's on paper, that tells me this guy can handle the job, and I'm going to be confident about him taking it.
Rick wants to know why you guys are all so sweaty.
I know for a fact Cops doesn't come on.
I know you touched my drum still because there was a nick in the tip.
Crossbows.
Pam, P-A-M, like comb, or just with a P?
And
the deity.
I read that the scene where he goes upstairs and puts his on the drum.
Oh, the drum set.
Yeah, that whole thing cost him like $10,000 to have the fake junk, right? Like that he wore, the prosthetic.
Yeah,
he wore. It was like super expensive. I'm like, really, $10,000 for fake junk? That's crazy.
Crazy.
Where were we? I lost my train of thought there.
The Gilded Lady. That's where we were.
Yeah, I think the relationship to Harbaugh and the OC is important. But I think Harbaugh needs, and I think he's good at this. I think he's capable of this. I think Harbaugh will just need to stay out of it, right? I think he needs to find the guy that he believes can do those things that he talked about at the start of the show. Teach, score points, install a system, all of those things, and then just let those two guys go to work, right? Stay out of it and let them figure it out. And hopefully whoever comes in can inspire Herbert and find a relationship with him that is, or foster a relationship with him that is productive to the offense, right? This offense needs to be comfortable for Herbert where he's not scrambling his ass off all the time. And a lot of that obviously comes back to where the line is. And that's another part of the story and really has, I guess it has something to do with the OC, but the fact is that they're going to need a new offensive line coach as well, but they got to get the offensive line healthy. And that's a big part of it as well. So, I think is it possible when you look at that could be a scary factor, KB, for whoever this potential OC is, that the line is still kind of banged up and trying to put it together? Or is that exciting for them? Like, hey, we got some guys, they were just injured.
I think it's exciting, right? Because you're getting guys back. It's not like these guys had career-ending injuries. Everybody's going to come back from their injury and hopefully be the same player, because I don't think there was an injury that really took place outside of Rashawn at the beginning of the season. That quad tendon, that's always a tricky injury, but even that he can shake back from. So I think listen, for an offensive coordinator coming in, you like what you see here. And then that you still have the draft and free agency ahead of you, right? You know that this can get better, and it has to be something that is addressed, because if not, then Ortiz needs to be fired. Point blank period, if the offensive line isn't addressed in a way that it should be. And that needs to be your primary focus as the GM. There's no other area on the field that needs more attention than your offensive line. You gave every other position, skill position, you gave that all the love you were supposed to give it last year. You gave it more than what you were supposed to give it. So if you don't come in and handle this offensive line and approach this the way that you're supposed to, then you need to be out of here. And so if I am a coordinator that you're interviewing, you're not only interviewing me, now I'm interviewing you. What are you going to do about the offensive line? Like what is the game plan to solidifying this forefront so Justin Herbert is safe. Because if I come here, no matter what I do, if I don't have an offensive line in front of Herbert, my system's not going to work. So what is your game plan? What is your approach? What is your mentality? Who are you looking at? I need to know these things before I take this job. So again, I think this is a two-way street when it comes to this interview process. It shouldn't scare the offensive coordinator, but once I sit down and have this interaction with the GM, Harbaugh, and whoever else is in these rooms, based on what your answer is and addressing what needs to be addressed, then that's where we could start having a different conversation of whether or not I'm excited about it or no, I'm gonna go somewhere else with it.
Jim, Sergio brings up an interesting point. When you interview internal staff first, it's not only to give them the opportunity, but also to make sure they were not part of the problem.
I like it, Sergio.
If they go with someone else, that's an interesting angle. Like as these guys are interviewing the internal staff, Shane Day and the like, they're like trying to suss out, how involved were you with the problem, right? And are we gonna have the same thing with a different hat and a different beard?
This guy's a future GM here is what you got with that guy, because this is why teams conduct exit interviews at the end of every season, every team, every sport. I mean, if the coach and the system and the team knows what they're doing anyway, they conduct exit interviews, and that's exactly what they want to talk about, to see if they can find guys that are part of the problem. Say, oh, really? Well, that's the way you think. So we do need a better kicking coach. Then we're going to go out there and we're going to get somebody. I mean, yeah, no, he's spot on about that. That's about looking for opportunities and getting the weeds out of there.
My wife always says, I don't leave jobs, I leave bosses, right? And
that's true too, man.
It's very accurate, right?
That's good.
It's not about the job, and you could transfer it over to this situation as well. Now, granted, no one left except for Minter, and that makes sense because he's going to leave for a better position. But these other guys that are out, I mean, the point of it is that it's about chemistry. It's about getting along with whoever you're working with, right? Your boss, your subordinate. In football, as a coaching situation, it's different. It's not as if Justin Herbert is this guy's subordinate, but they definitely have to have a cohesive relationship, and they kind of have to finish each other's sentences is the best way to describe it for me, right? They have to kind of, in the middle of a game, right? You hear this all the time, especially in basketball. Steph Curry talks about this, where he can just look at a guy, and then quarterbacks too. You look at a guy and they know what that look means, right? I'm sure you've dealt with that before, KB, right? The quarterback just looks at you and you know what he's thinking.
Absolutely. That it's unspoken communication, but again, that's time spent, that's time put in, that's conversation, and there's so much that goes into that's working with each other day in and day out. But that's the type of relationship that you do want. Phillip Rivers was a guy who had that relationship with Keenan Allen and Antonio Gates, where words didn't need to be spoken. It was a look at the defense, I'm looking at you, and okay, we do something completely different. So that can absolutely be beneficial for whoever comes into this. But also, if you're going to hire internally, go talk to your important pieces on this team from a player standpoint. What do you feel about this guy? Like, how was it working with him on a day-to-day basis? What did you learn from him? Do you think he could add value? Like, again, I think in these situations, player voices become muted because owners think that it doesn't matter, but it does, because this is who the player has to work with and this is who the coach has to work with. So it's a working relationship. And so if you are going to hire internally, then you, especially on that defensive side of the ball, then go talk to Derwin, go talk to Khalil, go talk to Henley, go talk to Denzel Perryman, go talk to these guys and figure out what you thought about this guy as an assistant coach. Because if he wasn't good as an assistant coach, what makes you think he would be good as a coordinator?
Jim, this is how much Charger fans like Jesse Minter. Just don't go to the Raiders, Jesse.
Go anywhere. Okay, what if he goes to Kansas City? What then? Or what if he goes? We know that spot is not open, but
that's not going to happen anytime soon.
No, not at all.
He's going to Cleveland, right? He's going to Cleveland, right?
I hope not.
Buffalo would be a better fit for him.
Much better. You got a better chance at winning than going to Cleveland. Let's be real here. We might not lose Jesse, right? When you look at the vacant spots in these teams, right? These aren't outside of Baltimore, outside of Buffalo. It gets tricky. Like I'm not just going to take a head coaching job just because it's a head coaching job, because it may be my one and only opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Just depending on where I go. So I'm not going to Cleveland. I don't trust ownership. I'm not going to Cleveland. I'm the Raiders. You got to show me something different. What I've heard coming out of there with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll and the way everything was going. Listen, I need to know that there is some organizational support and structure here. Like what's going on? So again, we may not lose Mentor, and I hope that we don't. But if it's a better spot for him, I hope he accepts a job where it's going to be a better fit for him and actually give him a shot at winning.
The Raiders have had more head coaches in the last 5 years than the Steelers have had ever, and that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think a good way to figure it out with Justin Herbert and whoever the new OC is put them in the room and have them just look at each other without talking and see if
they're deeply into each other's eyes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, maybe next week. Oh no, today's what? Tuesday? Yeah.
Tuesday.
So we'll do another one on Thursday. Maybe by then we'll have more answers to these questions. But at some point, we'll probably, once the season is over after the Super Bowl, we're going to start digging into the games from this past season and look at some of the dogs and look at some of the better ones that we thought, hey, this team's got a shot after this performance. We like the way this one turned out. And, hopefully this leads to more good stuff. And we know in the end it led to a playoff loss and an ugly one at that. But we'll dig into the season because we got a lot of time to kill here before they start playing football again. But we'll be back on Thursday right around 11 o'clock as well to get into more about what the Chargers need from a offensive coordinator. And hopefully by then they might have somebody singled out and, signed on the dotted line. But until then, I am Pete Fox for KenJon Barner and Jim Daniels. This is the Locked On Chargers Squad Show midweek on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and appreciate the comments. Take care. Have a good night.